Wayne here. I've got 4 stories I wanted to share with you guys today. 2 of them are about Trump, of course. Says Trump names 2 people when asked about potential VP candidates. Former President Donald Trump named 2 people during the interview over the weekend when asked about who he is considering to be his vice president running mate. Trump mentioned Senator Tim Scott and South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. When asked during a Sunday interview with Maria Bartiromo about who he was considering. Well, I have a lot of good people. We have a lot of really good people, Trump said. I have a lot of good ideas, but I haven't, and there's no reason to do that quickly. He said that he would not be making the decision for a while, adding that the top thing that he wants in his vice president is someone who would be a good president. I speak to everybody, he said. I called Tim Scott, and I said, you're a much better candidate for me than you are for yourself. When I watched him, he was fine. He was good, but he was very low-key, etc., etc. I watched him in the last week defending me and sticking up for me and fighting for me. He continued. I said, you're a much better person for me than you are for yourself, because for himself, he was very low-key. For me, he has been a real tiger. He's been incredible, and others have too. Trump said that it could be Scott, as he championed having received Scott's endorsement before, saying that getting an endorsement was a requirement for being selected. Kristi Noem has been incredible fighting for me, Trump said. She said I'd never run against him because I can't beat him. That was a very nice thing to say. And that comes from the Daily Wire. I will always try to source my stories so you guys can form a better opinion. Okay, this is from The Hill. Biden condemns anti-Arab hate after Wall Street Journal op-ed labels Michigan City America's jihad capital. I decided to report this because it kind of hits close to home. I used to live right outside of Dearborn in Detroit, Michigan. I grew up there. President Biden called out anti-Arab hate group against Dearborn, Michigan residents after an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal called the city America's jihad capital. It's the biggest Muslim community in the United States, I believe. Americans know that blaming a group of people based on the words of a small few is wrong. That's exactly what can lead to Islamophobia and anti-Arab hate. And it shouldn't happen to the residents of Dearborn. I agree with that. That was a racist statement. Or any American town. The president wrote Sunday on X. We must continue to condemn hate in all forms, he added. The opinion piece cited by Biden was published Friday, and the headline, Welcome to Dearborn, America's jihad capital, and subhead, imams and politicians in the Michigan City side with Hamas against Israel and Iran against the U.S. It highlighted the protesters in Dearborn and said people there in support of Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, Arab Americans make up the majority of the population of Dearborn. I don't know if that's true or not, man. The city's mayor, Abdullah Hamad, said he is glad Biden recognizes the severity and danger of the piece published by the journal. The unfortunate reality is Islamophobia has become an acceptable form of hate. Those who demonize or stereotype Muslims or Arab Americans quickly find bigger platforms and greater notoriety, he said on X. A major had ordered an increase in security across the city Saturday in response to the op-ed. Well, I don't know if it's the biggest hate thing in the country. I think the biggest hate thing, the biggest hate going on is toward white heterosexual men. Okay, next story. This is from the New York Post, which I don't look at very often. Trump scores the biggest lead yet against Biden in new NBC poll. Even NBC's admitting he's walking away with this thing. Former President Donald Trump scored his largest lead yet against President Biden Sunday in a new NBC poll, as voters gave the incumbent poor marks across the board. Trump 77 noticed a 47 to 42% lead over Biden, 81 with registered voters, marking an increase from his 46 to 44% edge recorded in November. The November poll from the outlet. This is the biggest lead NBC has ever had in 16 polls for Donald Trump over Joe Biden. NBC's political correspondent Steve Kormacki told Meet the Press on Sunday. NBC has conducted polling on Trump versus Biden for roughly 5 years. Historically, Biden has had the edge over his predecessor, but that started to shift last year. I wonder why. Last July, Biden touted 49 to 45 lead over Trump, but by September they were dead even at 46. Then in November, Trump jumped ahead. Cool. The latest poll sampled 1,000 registered voters with a margin of error of plus or minus 3.1 percentage points, and was taken from January 26th to the January 30th. When third-party candidates were added to the mix, Trump's edge expanded to 6 points, dispatching Biden 41% to 35%, with a Libertarian candidate nabbing 5%, Green Party getting 5%, and no labels notching 4%. The poll did not test environmental lawyer Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or independent president candidate Kamala West. Former U.S. Ambassador to the UN and South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley bested Biden 45 to 36% in the survey. Biden's campaign declined to comment on the poll. However, a former 2020 Biden campaign pollster, Matt Barrito, flagged some concern with its sampling to the Post. It overrepresents white voters and conservatives and underrepresents Democrats and Latinos. It's critical to point out the poll's shortcomings, just as much as its findings, before pundits jump to conclusions about the state of the race, especially when it appears as an outlier when placed in the context of other polls, he said. We know that 2024 will be extremely close, and we also know pre-election polls will be all over the place. Yeah, I mean, they're going to look for an explanation, right? Okay, this one's interesting. Last but not least, this is from the Huffington Post. Ex-Department of Justice official says he's now at the freakout stage over one Donald Trump case. Obama-era acting Solicitor General Neil Katyal on Sunday expressed his impatience at still waiting for a three-judge D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals panel to rule on Donald Trump's claim, which it heard early in January, that he can't be prosecuted in the D.C. election subversion case because he argues he had total immunity for acts committed as POTUS, President of the United States. If Trump loses his appeal as he's expected, he may take it to the Supreme Court, which I'm sure he will. The trial could then be pushed to summer or fall or even postponed until after the election, following which Trump could pardon himself or stop the prosecutions if he becomes a GOP nominee and wins back the White House. I am officially now at the freakout stage. I've resisted that for a long time, Katyal told MSNBC Jen Psaki. You don't typically freak out, so that's important, Psaki acknowledged. These people are so scared of Donald Trump. I hope he stays safe. I hope nobody does anything stupid. You don't physically freak. I just read that. I think we're now at the point to use a different legal phrase, that justice delayed is justice denied, Katyal responded. I can't imagine a more compelling need for speed than the idea that American citizens deserve to know before the election whether a candidate for office is a felon and insurrectionist. And it's even more galling to me because this is an easy case. There is no responsible constitutional scholar who thinks Donald J. Trump is right. There is absolute immunity. He added, this is a real problem. These people are insane. They go crazy. Former federal prosecutor Andrew Weissman said he was in violent agreement with Katyal, argued there really is no reason for delay. He also called Trump's claim to immunity absurd and preposterous. Wow. They just can't accept the fact that Trump is probably going back in the White House. Well, that's about it for today, folks. When I first started this, I planned on doing it every day, but I haven't been able to. I have been uploading other things, and like I said, I always try to source my stuff. So anyway, you guys have a good day. Thanks for watching, and peace out.